What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P. And we are back once again. And when you see me, you know one thing is for certain, and three things are for sure. You know that the Motor City Cats are back at it. You know that we came to give you stats and not static. You also know that we implore you, we ask you, we beg of you to keep your Lions news pragmatic. And how do you keep your Lions news pragmatic? Well, you got to subscribe, you got to like, you got to share so everybody can know how the Lions news is being kept pragmatic around here. Because that's what we do. That's what we do, baby. We're going to make it do what it do, baby. If you know, use the hashtag. What up, though, Tactical Sport? What up, though, everyone who is going to be in the chat a little bit later. Listen, man. We got some things to talk about, man. We know Frank Ragnow retired yesterday. Looking for the news, checking Twitter. He hasn't unretired. Now, this is a decision that I know he's going to struggle with. And some people have suggested that maybe he will be around the facility. Maybe he will be imparting some of his knowledge on the young dudes. Maybe. But you can't get away from football that way. You can't get away from football that way. You have to detach yourself from the team. If Frank Ragnow is on the sidelines, you know Frank Ragnow is not happy with his decision. If Frank Ragnow is in the suite, you know Frank Ragnow is not happy with his decision. If Frank Ragnow is immediately around the team, you know that Frank Ragnow is not happy with his decision. And I am all for it. I say, Frank Ragnow, go ahead, get around the team. I say, Frank Ragnow, go ahead and put on your coach's hat and get down there on the sideline. Immerse yourself in football. Go over all the terminology. Teach Tate Ratledge how to call out coverages, how to call out the will and the might, how to identify what's happening, how to be the general of the offensive line. Right? Because they say those who can do, but those who can't do, teach. So if Frank Ragnow puts himself in a situation where he's teaching, he's going to be like, y'all MFs think I can't do this no more. And then he might just, pop back on up in there and play. It's wishful thinking. I understand that. And we don't get into the wishful thinking angle around here. We talk about facts and we talk about, we do. We speculate. We get into wishful thinking. We wished that Myles Garrett was here. We wished that Trey Hendrickson was here. And at the time, it didn't seem like wishful thinking. Excuse me while I sip my cup of noodle. It may be hot where you are, maybe warming up. Oh, but it's cold down here, Jack. Oh, but it is cold down here, Jack. Let me take some time. As if y'all didn't know, there was a little bit of misconception earlier. Somebody said I was from Australia. No, I'm not from Australia. Do I sound like an Australian? Bro, Eastside, represent, stand up, Morning Hustle Hospital. Okay. Grandma lived on Canton Street. I lived on Longfellow and other places. But bro, your boy's from Detroit. I live in Australia. Just like I have lived in Qatar. I have lived in Malaysia. I have lived in Turkey, and so on and so forth. I'm an international man of mystery. International Post Player Circle, the Atlas. If you know, you know. Use the hashtag. All right. So I just wanted to clear up those inconsistencies and things that people might think. So anyway, what we are going to get into today, first and foremost, we're going to be talking about our expectations for the Detroit Lions. How many games does Frank Ragnow cost you? Right? I believe it would be called WAR in terms of like baseball. Wins above replacement. So how many wins is Frank Ragnow worth above a Graham Glasgow and above a Tate Ratledge. I've got a two-part answer for this. I said, I'm going to go back through the steps with you. I said that there is an opportunity, there's a pathway where I can see that we lose only 2 games again, that we go 15-2 again. I'm not crazy. Now, do I believe that we're going 15-2 again? I do not. Is there a pathway? Yes, and I'm going to explain the pathway to you. The pathway is this. We lose to Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. We lose to the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles with Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Now let's look at our much harder games. Or not our much harder. Let's look at some of our more difficult games. Kansas City Chiefs, we're going to Kansas City. Quite simply, Patrick Mahomes has never beat Jared Goff. He's 0-2 versus Jared Goff. What does that mean? Nothing really, but we did go into their house a couple seasons ago when we went to the NFC Championship game, and we did come out with the win in week number 1. So, am I afraid of Arrowhead Stadium? No. Does it have the big bad mystique that it has for other people? Absolutely not. Because we've gone there, we went in their trap, and we took over their trap. Okay? That's number 1. Shout out to Tactical Sport. He says, I was born in Hustle 2, raised on Harding Street between Shoemaker and Warren. And Taylor Made says, I don't know how many W's, but that O-line got question marks. It does. It has question marks. But let me get to it. Okay. So hold on. Let me sip my drink. Coming down with a little bit of something. But anyway, we lose to Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and we lose to, as I said, Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl Eagles. We went into Arrowhead. We took over their trap. We went in their trap. We took over their trap. We did all that Kirk Cousins stuff. Done that before. Been there, done that. So am I worried about it? Am I bothered by it? Is this something I believe that we can't do? No. Okay. The answer is no to all of those questions. Am I worried? No. Am I bothered? No. Do I believe it's something that we can't do? No. Okay. Because we have evidence to the contrary. Number 2, we have the Bengals. Now, Frank Ragnow is kind of affecting this situation, but also the Bengals don't have a defense. And the Bengals are very preoccupied this offseason with taking their edge rushers and not having them play this season. That includes the rookie Shamar Stewart. I don't know if he's ended his holdout, if they're still quibbling and squabbling over the language in his contract. I don't know. Okay, but if it does become a prolonged, protracted holdout, that's going to cause a problem. He's a rookie. He needs to be developing with his teammates right now, not holding out, sitting on the couch, waiting for them to correct some language that they've put in his contract, which is trying to stop him from getting a certain amount of money. Okay? So because they don't have a defense, and if y'all didn't see J-Mo Cook Ennis, J-Mo in the number 1, Ennis in his number 9, and I said, I commented on the tweet released by the Detroit Lions. Shout out Detroit Lions. I said J-Mo cooked him for wearing his old number. J-Mo absolutely cooked that man. Oh my goodness, he cooked that man. Now, Jared Goff, the only thing Jared's got to do, okay, he got it out there. The only thing that Jared's got to do, he's got to put it up there sooner. Okay? He's got to put it up there sooner. When he sees J-Mo get a step of separation, put the ball up. Let him run underneath it. Because once he gets a step of separation, The next thing you know, he's got 3 yards of separation. So you put it up, you let him run underneath it, you let him come down with it in stride, it's a touchdown every time. If you give him single coverage, once he gets that step of separation, you have a touchdown if you throw it right. If he doesn't have to stop, if he just runs under it and keeps running, he doesn't break stride, you have a touchdown. There is no safety in the league that's going to take the correct angle from the other side of the field to catch Jameson Williams. Now, if he's on the same side of the field, that's something different. Okay? If it's bracket coverage, that's something different. But if it's one-on-one, like you saw today, and people been singing Ennis Rakestraw's praises. And J-Mo said, hold my beer. You know? And he cooked that man. Absolutely. I felt bad. I was like, who is number 9? And then I realized it was Ennis Rakestraw. I was like, okay. So anyway, the Bengals don't have a defense. So if you're seeing things like J-Mo going up top for 50, J-Mo going up top for 60, J-Mo going up top for 70, and so on and so forth, the Bengals are going to have a hard time because we do have a defense. And if you want to get into a shootout, it's going to have to be the team that gets a stop or 2 that wins. That's the difference in the shootout. A stop is the difference. In the division, see, I want to say that we own the division. And let me pause for a second. Let me pause for a second with this division stuff, because there is something that I've been seeing. And this thing has been very unsettling. I don't know what it is, and I don't know where it has come from, but it is something that has come over this fan base. And I want to ask this fan base a question.
You lying? Why you always lying? Oh my God.
Okay, that's the question I want to ask this fan base. You mother suckers. You mother suckers. Okay? Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. You mother suckers. Talking about you don't care about the division. You mother suckers. I can't get jiggy with this ish. Come on, bro. Stop it. Stop it, Lions fans, with all of this divisional talk. Oh, I don't care about the division. Just get to the playoffs. Bruh, if you want to go to the playoffs, you should care about the division, because I've said this before. I've said it before, so I'm not going to get too far up on my soapbox. I'm just going to step on it a little bit. If you care about the playoffs, which every fan does, because getting to the playoffs is the first step to getting to the Super Bowl, which is the first step to winning the Super Bowl, which is something that the Detroit Lions have never done. And you want to continue to have the opportunity, so you want to continue to make the playoffs. You need to continue to be dominant in your division. I've seen people sitting around here talking about, I don't care about the division title. I don't care nothing about that. Bro, we just started winning the division. Have you forgotten? Listen, I think Derek, shout out Lions Syndicate. I think it was him who said that he hadn't seen such arrogance before from a fan base. And I have to agree with him about this. The arrogance that I have seen from within this fan base is absolutely freaking ridiculous. Brother man said, I don't care about the division. Bro, we hadn't won the division in 30 plus years, and now we back-to-back division champs, and people puffing out their chests like the division don't even matter. Bro, it better matter to you, because you get to the playoffs guaranteed when you win the division. Anybody want to tell me how y'all sitting around talking about, hey, just win 10 games and get to the playoffs? I don't care about the division. Why are you trying to make it difficult? Why are you trying to make it difficult? Because if they win 10 games and don't make the playoffs, and I've said this before, y'all are going to crash the F out. And I want everyone, and I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not saying that they're going to win 10 games only and they're going to not win the division and they're not going to make the playoffs. But if this scenario does take place, I want all you motherfuckers, all of you, to come right here to the Motor City Cats podcast and apologize. Say, Motor City Don P, I am sorry. I am sorry. I was believing in my own hype, but it was too untrue. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and I asked you to drink some too. Hashtag if you know, use the hashtag. Okay? That's all I want to hear from you. I want to hear hat in hand, head down, humble, come and apologize for this ridiculousness that y'all are spewing. I don't care about the division. The division is the first thing you got to care about. Luckily for you and for us, you are not the coach of the Detroit Lions, and Dan Campbell is. And Dan Campbell understands that the fastest way to the playoffs is to win the division. That is the easiest way to get to the playoffs. There is no help needed. There is no playoff race. There is no, what are the standings? What are our chances? Who has to win? Who has to lose? Who has to tie? Who has to forfeit? Who has to do this? Right? Who has to lose every second Sunday of the third month of the year? We don't need to do any of that, because once you clinch the division, that's a wrap. So please stop it. I don't want to see it anymore. I just want you to stop. Win the division, you get to the playoffs. Get to the playoffs, you can get to the Super Bowl. Get to the Super Bowl, you can win it. It's very simple math. If y'all need me to break it down further, hit me up later and I can do that for you. Otherwise, please shut the F up with all that I don't care about the division talk. I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. All right? Because it's one of those things. Okay? We say a lot of ridiculous things. All right? And when we say those ridiculous things, we sound stupid. Like, we sound really, really stupid. So that's all I wanted to say. Okay? We good? We good. Okay. All right. Let's continue on what we were talking about. Hold on, let me find my chat again. Okay. Taylor May said, put some air under the football, but that means the ball's got to fly deeper than the safety. I don't think. Jared Goff has thrown a pass to J-Mo with 50 air yards. It traveled 50 yards in the air. Okay? Look, Jared Goff may not throw the prettiest deep ball. It may wobble. It may look like a duck. And it may quack like a duck. But it's a bomb. Okay, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, that doesn't mean it's a duck. In Jared Goff's case, it's a bomb. Okay, as I said, 50 air yards. He's thrown into J-Mo before. Look it up. All right. Jeff Williams says divisional win gives an automatic home game. If we hadn't been cheated in Dallas 2 years ago, we'd have gone to the Super Bowl. I want the division more than the playoffs. F the Packers. What up, though? Here's Johnny. Okay. Now, as I got off on a tangent about the division. Let's get back to the division. I want to say that we own the division, but as I said before, the Bears are in the trenches. Okay, they are beefing up both lines. That's going to be a direct Frank Ragnow situation. And there are other stipulations I have about how many wins or what is the WAR, the wins of above replacement that Frank Ragnow represents. Okay? And it's not, as some of you have been dismissing Frank Ragnow as if he was just a nobody. Okay? And mostly, the people in my chat is small but sensible. Okay? So generally when I'm talking about these other people, it's generally not from my chat. Okay? So I rock with y'all. Y'all rock with me. And that's the only kind of rock that we talk about around here. Okay? If you know, you know. Use the hashtag. And I do have a question for Mr. Morale, from Mr. Morale 313. It's a mailbag question that he put in the Discord, but I will get to that in a bit. Talk about an arrogant fan base. The Bears are always the offseason champs. That is correct. They are always the offseason champs. But I'm just saying, for the purposes of what they've done. The Vikings also, good defensive line. And they did sign. Who did they sign? Was it Jonathan Allen that they signed from the Commanders? Okay. So that's one thing. Frank Ragnow's retirement could directly cause us to lose at least one game within the division. Okay? So that's one game. So that takes us down to where am I at? Was I at 14-3 or 13-4? Let's say I was at 14-3. Okay, so Frank Ragnow can cause us one game within the division. That puts us at 13-4. Okay, let me move on. What are our toughest games outside of the division? I've already said, and I'm staying consistent. We probably lose to the Ravens. We probably lose to the Eagles. I don't think that we lose to the Bengals or the Chiefs. Okay. Let me put this up because I don't want to have to ask y'all. Because I was going to do this from memory, but I just want to be really accurate. Okay. So this is the preseason schedule. No one cares about that. All right. So we've got all right. So we know we have the Packers first. Then we have the Ravens. We have the Packers. This is dumb how they're doing it this way. Okay, so we have the Packers first, then we have the Bears, and we have the Ravens. Then we have the Browns. We don't need Frank Ragnow to beat the Browns. I don't think. Although they do have a pretty decent defensive line, so it's not going to sway anything, but it might be a little bit closer than we thought it would be. Like, instead of beating them by 50, we might beat them by 45. That type of thing. Okay, then we have the Bengals, then we have the Chiefs. The Buccaneers. Okay, now I said yesterday that when we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it doesn't mean that we have to run up the middle to right into Vita Vea. But we're talking about wins above replacement. We're talking about WAR. I feel like Frank Ragnow would be necessary in that game. So his replacement in Graham Glasgow is probably not going to fare anywhere nearly as good as Frank Ragnow would. So now our wins above replacement, or our WAR for Frank Ragnow, sits at 2, and we sit at 12 wins. Okay? I'm just saying, do I believe that we're going to lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers directly? No, and I'll clear the rest of this up after I'm done going through the schedule. Okay, then we have the Vikings. I don't know which game within the division I would rather it be to the Vikings. Now, it would end our string of dominance over the Vikings, but the Bears winning can't happen. Okay, Osama bin Johnson is over there, and it can't happen. All right. Then we have the Commanders. Extreme levels of get back necessary in the Commanders game. Don't think we lose that game with or without Frank Ragnow. Eagles, I've already said, probably going to lose that one. Giants, I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell, but, who knows? Jackson Dart might step in and be that dude, and he might unseat Russell Wilson by week 4. So, it might happen. But nevertheless, he'll be a rookie quarterback going up against our defense. It's pretty damn good when it comes to not being injured, though. I got the Packers again, then we have the Cowboys. I think we're going to continue to be the Cowboys' daddy. They may have gotten George Pickens and things of that nature, which, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens is going to be difficult for secondaries all year. But Brian Schottenheimer is the coach. He's not Marty. Okay? He's Brian. And he is a placeholder. He is the coach that Jerry Jones handpicked because he will be able to run him. And he will not push anything back. Mike McCarthy, you thought Mike McCarthy was a do boy. Wait till you get a load of Brian Schottenheimer. Well, you won't really get a load of him because he'll be in the background, very muted, and Jerry Jones will be out front. Can he be a head coach? Jerry Jones picked him because he doesn't have strong character and strong leadership qualities. No. I don't think Brian Schottenheimer does too well with those guys. All right, the Rams. Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Bryant Young, what's his name? Kobe. I don't remember his last name. Might be tough. I don't want to admit that the Rams have any opportunity to beat us because Matt Stafford's over there. I also don't believe that they have fans in Los Angeles. I don't think Bryant Young or Kobe, bro, I don't remember the names. I think it'll be close. But I don't think they do enough to win that game. I'm gonna be honest with you. It could go either way. And because it could go either way, I'm just gonna pick the Lions. I picked the Lions originally to win that game before Frank Ragnow retired. So I'm going to stay the course. Steelers. This is a game I cannot pick the Lions to lose because we are going to be playing Mason Rudolph. I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers. But right now, if Aaron Rodgers is not signed, he's already doing what he did with the Jets. He's tearing that locker room apart. He is a cancer. He is a diva, and he is all about his own self. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Aaron Rodgers sign in the last week of training camp just because he wanted to skip all of the OTAs. He wanted to skip all of training camp. And he will have no chemistry with DK Metcalf. He will have no leadership role within that locker room. So even if you do bring him in at the tail end of training camp, nah. Okay? So then we finish up with the Vikings and the Bears. So my conclusion is that Frank Ragnow's WAR, wins above replacement, is 2. And I don't know if I'm doing that stat right because I'm not a baseball guy. I'm guessing what wins, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, what wins above replacement is like how many wins would you have above any players that replace you? Am I right in thinking that? Let me know. Love Big Frank. His toe injury was cringe, though, to be honest. Do you think Ennis will be a starter and break out this year? I don't think he will be a starter because where is he starting? Right now, he's competing with Amik Robertson, and I don't think he unseats Amik as the starting nickel corner. Now, I think he'll be in the rotation. All things considered, when he got cooked by J-Mo, I mean, he was in the frame, right? He stayed in the frame. He didn't get completely run by. Right? J-Mo didn't beat him by 10 yards. That's J-Mo, bro. So I can't really judge that one. I can't fault him for getting cooked by J-Mo. Lions better be at least 11-6. I still have them at 12-5. Jeff Williams says Osama bin Johnson, LOL. Tactical Sports says, I don't know, Davenport will be on the IR by the second game. Yeah, we're prepared for that. I mean, that's what we did all last year. So, WAR is how many more wins the team has with the player versus a replacement level player. So I said it right. Right? I said it right. Okay. Because Graham Glasgow is the replacement level player. And I think that Graham Glasgow costs us 2 games with his presence. And Frank Ragnow would have won those 2 games with his presence. Now, here's where I also kind of want to step back from the WAR situation, because we're looking at it from a top-down view of just saying, okay, statistically and what his skill set is, Frank Ragnow would win this game for us, or we would lose this game because Frank Ragnow is not in there. So what I want to look at is, what is the flow of the game? How close are we? Is it a close game, or are we blowing them out? Okay? Because here's the thing. If Graham Glasgow, excuse me, and then got nothing but noodles left. If Graham Glasgow can mitigate and I'm not going to say any of, because he is a NFL center. He played center before. He has lots of experience at center. So Graham Glasgow is going to be able to mitigate pressure up the middle. Is he going to be able to stop it as well as Frank Ragnow? No. But here's the question. When you're trying to project things, you don't know how things are going to go. Give you an example. Frank Ragnow has an awesome pass set, and he stonewalls his defender. And there's no way possible that any interior pressure is coming in. Taylor Decker gets beat. Sacks given up by Taylor Decker. Frank Ragnow gets absolutely obliterated by, and this doesn't happen, but this is an example. Frank Ragnow gets absolutely obliterated and had no chance, off the snap. The dude just blitzed him, shot the gap, hit Jared Goff. Jared Goff had no chance. It wouldn't have mattered if it was Frank Ragnow or Graham Glasgow. Graham Glasgow gives just enough time for a coverage to bust. Jared Goff hits J-Mo down the field on the bomb. Right? Frank Ragnow on a run play, down blocks, seals the gap, but Graham Glasgow misses his man coming in, and he tackles Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield for a 2-yard loss. Graham Glasgow blows his blocking assignment straight up the middle, but it's a toss play to Jahmyr Gibbs to the right, off tackle. Penei Sewell seals the edge. Jahmyr Gibbs hits his head on the goalpost from 80 yards away. These are all things that can happen within a game, and they don't depend on any one player. Right? So in the last scenario that I gave you, right? Graham Glasgow misses blocking assignment. Jahmyr Gibbs hits his head on the goalpost because they don't even run in the vicinity of Graham Glasgow. They run it to the outside, and Penei Sewell is the lead blocker. And Penei Sewell springs Jahmyr Gibbs and allows him to get into the secondary, into the second level of the defense, and that's all she wrote. Right, we've seen Jahmyr Gibbs take ankles. Take them. He has a collection of ankles. And most of them belong to, or used to belong to, Vikings players. Okay? Graham Glasgow goes back to the huddle, and he gets chewed out. Not the huddle, the sideline, sorry. Gets chewed out by Hank Fraley. Graham Glasgow gets his act together, doesn't miss another block for the rest of the game. But that block that he missed didn't have any impact on the play. And that block that Frank Ragnow sealed didn't have any impact on the play. Because someone else messed up. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why I say, how close are these games? Because I think his war is really going to be seen in close games. And then our closest games are generally our divisional games, which is why I said I can see his absence losing us one divisional game. Right? Does that make sense? Are y'all with me so far? Talking about a player that could be brought in at the league minimum. I don't think Graham Glasgow could be brought in at the league minimum. So what do we categorize him as? It's important to remember that WAR is comparing to the average player. If a replacement is a better than NFL average player, it's not as accurate. Do you think that Graham Glasgow is better than an average NFL center? Do you think he is above average or he's about average? If the center's getting beat, both guards are getting beat, well, it depends on the blocking assignment. Does it not? Right? If you've got a double team block on the nose tackle and the center essentially gets beat, but the guard pulls over in time and picks him up and he stymies him, then the play continues on. Right? If you've got a pulling guard and the center gets beat, the pulling guard may have to pick up that man, or he may just get in his way enough for you to spring Jahmyr Gibbs around the corner. So this is what I'm saying. It's coming down to situational play. It's coming down to how the situation of the game, how it's unfolding. So this is why it's difficult to project how many wins Frank Ragnow himself is worth. He's better than a league minimum player, and that's how WAR is calculated. So what am I using? I'm using MWAR, MC War, Motor City War. So then, if that's the case, if I had him at a WAR of 2 and I was incorrectly calculating the value of Graham Glasgow, okay, then what would we say his absence is worth then? If I have it at 2 with Graham Glasgow, but I was incorrectly saying this because Graham Glasgow is better than the player that I was supposed to be calculating against, then what is the value of Frank Ragnow's retirement? What is the effect of Frank Ragnow's retirement on our wins versus losses? Remember you got Jared. So remember Jared Goff is top 2 play action quarterback, and he's not number 2 in the league. Remember that about Jared Goff. Right? Now that's when you could say, okay, that's when it comes into play. Is Graham Glasgow going to give him enough time to be able to fake the handoff, turn around, and find his man down the field? But then you go, well, Graham Glasgow was his center when he played his perfect game. Right? So it's a good speculation piece. Right? So what do you guys in the chat, you tell me what you think. How many wins do you have? How many wins did you have them at before the Frank Ragnow retirement? How many wins do you have them at after the Frank Ragnow retirement, and why? Let me know what you guys think in the chat. It's still probably around a game or two when you compare their WAR against each other. I saw the Bills manhandle Jared Goff, and Ragnow and Zeitler were out there blocking for him. Okay. But would you say that Ragnow and Zeitler are bad players, or that Ragnow and Zeitler had bad games? Because if you say that they have bad games, just like Jared Goff had a bad game against Washington, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't know how many viewers I'm going to lose. But if you say that it's okay for players to have bad games sometimes players have bad games, and sometimes players play out of their minds, and they have career years and they have career games. Right? You would expect Graham Glasgow to bounce back this year. Okay, because last year wasn't good enough. And now that he's the starting center for your team, he's got to carry more responsibilities, and he's got to carry the load, and he's got to put it on his shoulders. Pause. So There's a lot of factors at play here. So every DC and Baltimore, KC and Cincy and whoever else is chomping at the bit. I don't think Cincy's DC is capable of chomping at the bit because he doesn't have players to champ with. Is KC chomping at the bit? I mean, he does have to deal with Chris Jones. So yeah, I think I forgot about Chris Jones when I said that. So we might be at 3. We might lose to Kansas City. If I'm gonna give it to Vita Vea, I gotta give it to Chris Jones. The O-line and the D-line both had bad games against the Bills, right along with the linebackers. Oh, the linebackers weren't supposed to be playing in the league. Okay? Let's not forget that. Those linebackers in the Bills game weren't supposed to be in the NFL. They're supposed to be on the couch next to me. Okay? Let's not forget that, especially old Ezekiel Turner. Yeah. We brought him back too for whatever reason. But the reason is special teams. And as I've said before, I don't care if he's on special teams. Go out there and cover kicks and punts to your heart's content. Have fun. Have a blast. But don't come on my defense. That's what I don't want to see. That's what you're not going to do. You know what I'm saying? We're not about to have old Ezekiel Turner on the defense. That's what you're not going to do. We're not going to have that now. You know what I mean? Pause. Yeah, pause. I was trying to see if I can get away without pausing that one, but yeah, I had to pause it. So it's fair to say that the linebackers in the Bills game are the players that you are supposed to use for war. Okay, got it. And I think the only player like that we have on the offensive line is Colby Sorsdal. Yeah, if you see old Colby out there, pack it up. Pack it up. You're not doing anything that you were trying to do. You trying to run the football? Pack it up. You trying to pass the football? Pack it up. You might as well just punt. Just punt. That's all you got to do. Just punt. You get the ball, punt. You know, or you play 500 with it and you just throw it deep and hope it doesn't get intercepted. It's going to get intercepted about 5-6 times. But Colby Sorsdal, he's better than me. That's just because I'm not a lineman. You know, I'm not just gonna disrespect the man by saying I could be a better lineman because I couldn't. Not at all. But he's not great. Shout out to him for making it to the NFL. But that was about all he was gonna do was make it. Make an impact. Make a team. Make the cut. Those things are not in the plans. But y'all haven't given me, y'all got to give me your opinions. What do you think? So we've established what war is. Okay, we've established that Colby Sorsdal is the only war eligible individual on the offensive line, and he doesn't even play center. So what do y'all think? The retirement of Frank Ragnow does what to our roster, our record? What did you have before the retirement? What do you have after the retirement? Say it with your chest. Say it with your chest now. Before the retirement, I had us at 12-5. After, I still think we can run 12-5. Cake Man 1218, what up though? He says, I refuse to believe that we will drop off that hard with Frank Ragnow gone. That being said, he was a dog. I think there are too many variables as to how Frank Ragnow impacts the team, right? I'm not saying that he's not a dog. I'm not saying he wasn't the best center in the NFL. I'm saying, like I explained before, there are too many variables. Now, if you said Jared Goff retired and we were left with Hendon Hooker or Kyle Allen, then you could see, oh yeah, we had him at 12-5 before the retirement. Now we have him at 2-15. You know what I mean? That would be the type of situation if it were a quarterback retiring, and not a center. What up, though, Salty Pork Chops? Cake Man says, I truly don't think much changes. And the Bears HC knows there are holes in the Lions O-line. See, the Bears HC can know whatever he wants to know. But at some point, pause. You got to put your balls on the table. And we know, pause, that Dan Campbell walks around with a wheelbarrow to carry his. Pause. Ben Johnson looks like a tweezers type of guy. Pause. I'm just saying. Pause. Okay? A wheelbarrow versus the tweezers. I think the wheelbarrow wins all the time. That's all I'm saying. Benedict Johnson ain't got no shot. We like to call him Osama around here. Osama Ben Johnson. He's a terrorist. Salty Porkside says, did you get to watch the heavy tonight? Rob Parker was on. Spenny was having a controlled crash out. Yes, I did see that. He definitely was crashing out. Ben Johnson also knows how Osama Ben Johnson also knows how good of an OL coach Hank Fraley is, so he's not going to underestimate him. I really think we have too many weapons on offense for our offense to regress by losing Frank and replacing him with Graham. Facts. I mean, the only question you have there is protection, and as I said, Graham, he was the quarterback for he was the center for the perfect game. So, Osama Ben Johnson is legendary. Yes, indeed it is. It's not Ben Johnson's slander. He went to the Bears. If he had gone to the Jets like AG did, no one would care. But he stayed in the division, and that's why we call him Osama Ben Johnson, and some people call him Benedict Johnson, because he stayed in the division. That was it. You have the right to be the head coach of 27 other NFL teams. Okay, you're not going to be the head coach of the Detroit Lions. You shouldn't be the head coach of 28, right? So you shouldn't be the head coach of the Packers, the Bears, or the Vikings. You stay in the division, you're dead to us. He did. He took the bag, and I don't begrudge a man for taking the bag. But you took the bag in Chicago, and it led to you being a terrorist. That's all. Hey, the man, listen, outside of football, that man has taken care of his family, and he has done exactly what he was supposed to do as the head of the household. And I do not begrudge him. His personal life doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is his life on the football field in my division. That's all. He handled his business like he was supposed to. Football-wise, dead to me. Dead to me. You're a terrorist. Right? The Bears had the best roster of the NFL teams that didn't have a coach. He wants to be successful. That's fine. That's fine. And I don't want him to be successful. Because if he is successful, that is a direct impact on my team's chances to be successful. That's the argument. I'm a Detroit Lions fan. Okay? I'm a Chicago Bears hater. So if you go to the Chicago Bears, who are in my division, and you are successful, then that means your success directly impacts my success. If you are successful as a Chicago Bears coach and you win your division, guess what I don't do? I don't win my division. And because I don't win my division, then I possibly don't go to the playoffs. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what the Osama bin Johnson, that's the thing. So anybody that's upset because we don't wish success for Ben Johnson or Osama bin Johnson or Benedict Johnson, you need to check the personal stuff at the door. No one personally hates him, right? No one personally, like, we don't want his family to starve. We don't want him to be homeless. None of that stuff. We don't want him to be successful in football because he's in our division, which has a direct impact on our success. Now, if we get to the Super Bowl and we have to face the New York Jets, which is about as unlikely as anything ever, we will not wish AG success in that game. Because if we wish AG success in that game, that directly impacts our ability to win that Super Bowl. You understand what I'm saying? It's about winning in football. It's not about personal life, personal issues. I don't personally know Osama bin Johnson. I don't personally have a personal opinion about him as a person. A coach, a football rival is FU. It's Detroit versus everybody. As a person, did a great job, put your family in a great position. I can separate the two. Right? Cake Man says, I'm pumped to be a backseat Jets fan because I love Glenn, but will never support Osama bin Johnson. Facts. He says he's with me. Okay? That's why it will be fun to be a Jets fan this season. He's in the opposite conference, so it don't matter. Right. So we can root for AG until the cows come home. But if he's in the AFC Championship game and we're in the NFC Championship game, you know, all bets are off and the gloves are off too. You know what I'm saying? The Bears play the Lions at Ford Field on September 14. Mark your calendar. Yeah, it's our second game of the season. Chip Bradshaw says, speaking facts. I try to speak facts. You know what I'm saying? 99.9% of the time I'm successful. There's that 0.1% that I'm not successful in speaking facts. Facts is a language that I speak fluently. Am I buffering on y'all's screen? Because I'm buffering on mine. It's not frozen. That's weird. Let me know in the chat. Okay. So I see a still, yeah. Okay, it says the stream health is excellent. I don't know. That was weird. That was crazy. So on my screen, I'm still buffering. So I don't know what that's about. I thought that joint crashed. I was like, we coming to the end and you're gonna crash. All right. I guess salty pork chops left. But look, I'm always gonna, it's always facts. Okay. All right, let me answer. If you guys have any mailbag questions, let me know. I have a mailbag question, and it comes from Mr. Morale 313. Mr. Morale 313 is not here, but he might catch this on replay. So let me pull it up here. He has an article from, what's this person's name? Was it Mateo Ravi? It says Lions wide receiver room shines with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So basically the question was, why are all these reporters kicking J-Mo off of the team? My answer is pure hate. Okay, salty pork chop, you still here. Cool. My answer is pure hate. You're kicking the guy off the team, and Dan Campbell is consistently telling you something different. Brad Holmes told you in the offseason, we're still in the offseason, but earlier in the offseason, that the receiver position is really expensive. And I keep saying that there are ways to get contracts done when you want to get them done. So I don't understand the reasoning other than pure hate. J-Mo's maturity has been lauded. J-Mo's work ethic has been lauded. J-Mo's progress has been lauded. When you ask Dan Campbell a question about Jameson Williams nowadays, he's brimming with excitement about Jameson Williams. When you ask Dan Campbell a question about Jameson Williams 2.5, 3 years ago, he said things like, yeah, he'll never have elite hands. Or, where's J-Mo now? He's in the building. Okay? So just listen to what Dan Campbell is telling you. Dan Campbell has never been one to mince words. This is why people love playing for Dan Campbell. He shoots you straight and he tells you the truth. Okay? So if he's shooting you straight and telling you the truth about Jameson Williams, if you're a reporter and you're constantly writing articles about, how Jameson Williams is not long for this team and so on and so forth, it feels like you have an axe to grind and you have an agenda. So you need to stop it and get some help. Jameson Williams is a Detroit Lion until he's not a Detroit Lion. Does it mean that he's not going to be a Detroit Lion next year or the year after that and so on and so forth? No, that's not what it means. Does it mean that he's going to be a lifelong Lion? I hope so. Does it mean he'll never play for another team? I hope so. But let's let it play out and stop trying to kick the dude off the team, bro. He is a young man. He has matured. He has grown and blossomed before our eyes. Pause. And just let him keep being successful. If Jameson Williams has 1,500 yards this season, your team did great things. If you're not a fan of the Detroit Lions and you just like to stir the pot, go stir the pot elsewhere. That's all. That's my answer to that question. How'd I do? Tactical Sport says, mailbag, you become the GM overnight, knowing who we have to sign in the future and now that Frank has retired, what moves do you make? So I signed very team-friendly deals for Alex Anzalone and Za'Darius Smith. I would sign Jadeveon Clowney over Za'Darius Smith, but I know what Za'Darius Smith is like in the locker room, and I know with this team, and I think it helps us to hit the ground running a lot faster. Zadarius Smith may not play the run as well as Jadeveon Clowney, but I think we're good on that end. I think we'll be fine. I think we can scheme around that. Alex Anzalone, we know what he means to this team. We know what he means to this defense. We know how the defense got a boost when he came back from that broken forearm that he suffered in the Bills game. That's pretty much all I do. I think those are two moves that we need to make. There's really nothing we can do at center. Like, we're not trading for anybody because those 2 third-round picks that you could have thrown in to sweeten the deal, we don't have them anymore. We don't have any third-round picks unless you're giving someone third-round picks from 2027. And I believe in the NFL there's a limitation to how far in the future you can trade picks. It's not like the NBA. When we got the rights to pick Carmelo Anthony and we picked Darko Milicic, but that was from a trade that we did like 10 years ago with the Lakers. So that's how we got the number 2 overall pick. But yeah, that's what I would do. I think that's the only moves that we need to make. Mailbag, was Alex Anzalone in the building today? I don't believe he was. I hadn't heard any reports about him being there. Okay. Let me check. Yeah, I haven't seen anything. There's a cryptic Alex Anzalone video, apparently. Lions QB Hendon Hooker ranked as a middle tier backup. He's not even a top tier backup. And some of y'all thought he was the missing link in the trade for Myles Garrett. We couldn't get Myles Garrett because Brad Holmes refused to give up a mid-tier backup quarterback for Myles Garrett. Okay. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery have a new commercial. I need to see that. Yeah, no. Nothing that I see about Alex Anzalone being in the building. If not, why not? Because he wants a new contract. So that's clear. It's clear that Alex Anzalone wants a new contract. I was just thinking back to the day before yesterday, someone writing a piece that says that Frank Ragnow should hold out of camp absent a new deal. And then the next day he retires. Very, very poor timing for that article to come out. Oh, it's a Faygo commercial. Oh, okay. That's why I said Detroit culture. Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. I might go get a Faygo right now. I'm saying trade him for a bag of chips and a Faygo pop. If you know, you know, use the hashtag. Oh, Quest McCody. What y'all know about Quest McCody? What y'all know about Quest McCody? Let me see where y'all at. What y'all know about Quest? Anybody know about Quest? Yeah, y'all know nothing about Quest. Mailbag, will there be an announcement that you've signed another linebacker by Friday? I hope the next announcement that we signed a linebacker is that we extended Alex Anzalone. Taylor May. Why would I say I might go get a Faygo right now if I didn't know where to get them from? I can go right down the street, from my house and get a Faygo pop right now. Y'all seen it before. I showed you. I think Tactical, you were here with me when I was doing the Super Bowl, right? You saw me with the Faygos. You know what it is. You seen it. You have to draw it. So now Vernors I can't get. Vernors I cannot get. But Faygo I can get all day. All right, I am going to get out of here before I have a problem because I'm getting error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So it's telling me it's going to start buffering. So it says stream status is poor. He said that could be the 1% that ain't factual, brother. Do you want me to get a Faygo and come to the stream with it tomorrow? If you need me to do that, TaylorMade, I will do that for you. So let me know before I leave. If you want to see a Faygo with me tomorrow, let me know, and it will be here. Okay, it is not going to be Amazon. It's not going to be FedEx. It is not going to be DHL. You know, none of that. UPS, Overnight Express, none of that. It's going to be right from down the street. I promise you. So let me know. All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all once again for coming through, stopping by, hanging out, chilling with your boy. We're going to see. We're going to see what's going to happen with this Frank Ragnow situation and how many wins it costs us, or does it cost us at all? I guess we'll have to stay tuned and watch the season, which is not as far away as one might think. The end of July is going to be upon us sooner than we think, and that will be when the Hall of Fame game takes place. I believe it's July 31st. So the Motor City Cats are back at it. We came to give you stats and not static, whatever you do. Make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And if you have not, smash that like button. If you have not shared the stream, please do. It does a great service to the podcast to get it out there and to get it shared and get it seen amongst the masses. All right. So we are out of here, guys. Peace.